Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Racing Insiders podcast. It is July 18th, 2022. And it's hard to believe that more than half the year is gone. And here we are.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm Kate Dillon from Crate Insider. I'm here today with Steve Hendren from Hendren Racing Engines. And how are you doing today, Steve?
Good. Yeah. Good Monday.
Good.
Actually, for once.
Oh my gosh.
It wasn't a complete total shit show. So
okay. Mark my calendar. July 18th of 2022. Yes, he's having a good day. That's great. Anything exciting?
No,
just a good day.
Normal day, really.
Good deal. So, yeah, I had a good day too. And what are you drinking today, Steve?
Just basic bitch ultra like normal.
Oh, well, I'm
so
drinking...
I can keep my round figure.
Hey, it doesn't happen by itself.
No, it does not.
Mm-hmm. Dad bod goals.
Hey, exactly.
Right.
Yep.
I have pink lemonade is what I'm drinking today.
All right. No vodka in the pink lemonade?
No, and you are not putting vodka because I do remember. I think it's been probably 2 years ago at this point where I was going to add vodka to lemonade and you just tipped the bottle and it ended up being, instead of...
Is that the video I have of you sleeping outside in your chair?
Very well could be.
It probably
could be. Yeah, it could have happened. Yeah, it would make me sleepy.
Yeah.
Make me sleepy. Yeah, absolutely. So anyway, if you're here, say hi. You can tell us where you're watching from. We always love to chat with our viewers here. And we're here, of course, to answer questions. And it says we're broadcasting, but I don't see any comments yet. So we got some folks
you got
here.
0 bars of signal according to your thing there.
Oh, well, I don't know. We got some folks here. So this says we're on live. So we're good.
Okay.
We're good. We're good. All right. So we do have some questions actually that we've gotten over the last few days here.
Right.
And for one, we have, this is from Ben. He says, we picked up a mist 2 weeks ago and we're still trying to find it. We've changed the plugs, coil, rotor, battery, and it's still missing. Would you happen to have any ideas?
I mean, unfortunately with a miss like that, it can be anything. It can be everything from fuel related problem to ignition, obviously, which it sounds like you've covered a lot of the ignition side of things. So yeah, honestly, it could be anything. Unfortunately, I always recommend in that scenario that you go to a chassis dyno, and because you're going to figure it out in probably an hour, minimum on a chassis dyno. Whereas you can go to the racetrack every week for half a season and never figure it out.
Gotcha.
I mean, I've seen it be everything from, like what you're describing. I've seen it be everything from, a fuel filter issue, which is causing a top end miss, to I've seen it be electrical where the ignition switch itself is causing the problem. So,
yeah, it's really hard to find a gremlin like that.
It is.
Gotcha. Great information there, though. And I do have another one here, too. This one's from James. He says, any documented horsepower or torque increase for a stock 602 with a 6A over the HEI?
No. Nothing that I can recall as far as us, literally testing that back to back. I can tell you that I've tested like HEIs where people have to run an HEI, and I've tested a couple. There's like a couple Chinese brand of HEIs out there.
Oh,
that kind of look like MSDs, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tested those actually back to back with MSD, not on purpose, but we were trying to find why this guy was making no freaking power.
Right.
It took that pile of shit out, put an MSD in there because he had to run an HEI, and power's back. So I mean, we're talking 10, 15 horsepower,
right?
Just in the in the HEI itself.
Wow, that's incredible. I see Brian Littleton's here from Race Logic Chassis School. It says 104 here in Arkansas.
Ooh.
And working on some great classes for next year. Should have more info coming up in the next few weeks.
Awesome.
That is super exciting. There's going to be a lot of new information coming out very soon here with the events anyway, because we'll find out about the Race Logic Chassis School classes and then also the Cars Racing Show that's going to happen in Hickory, North Carolina. That'll be January 6th and 7th of 2023. And a lot of any of the exhibitors, they're going to hear from me. If any of my any of the past exhibitors from last year or from this year, I guess, from 2022, you're going to hear from me in the next couple of days here, because we're going to get the get some of the events signed up and the booths signed up and just kind of get some wheels in motion,
cool.
Get things going. So that's really exciting. And of course, I love all of the Race Logic chassis schools.
Of course.
I've been doing these now for a few
years. It'd be good if Brian come out for that show, actually.
Well, Brian was here for the show.
I know he was.
This year. Again, so it'd be great to get Race Logic represented for sure. And maybe we can even do something fun with it too. Really fun.
Exactly.
All right. And Jeremy Fowler's here. He says, hey, y'all, I wanted to give you a heads up on the thermostat housing I bought. And this is the Arts Radiator thermostat housing. It says, I raced at Cherokee this weekend. I used 2 gallons less fuel during a race day. I also went out at 180-degree water temperature.
It just makes a massive difference.
Wow.
Again, because you're going to use primarily more fuel, get the engine warm enough to race than what you are, on the racetrack when you're actually racing. So it's a game changer.
Yeah.
2 gallons, over a several week period of time is pretty damn important.
Yeah, absolutely. And you wanted to say, just wanted to say thank you for the badass product.
It'll pay itself off in a matter of no time.
Oh yeah. I mean, 2 gallons of race fuel, that adds up. I mean, it doesn't sound like
he's talking E85, obviously, but
right. But even so that, little bit by little bit.
Nothing's cheap.
Besides the fact too, you're literally getting less wear on your engine, wouldn't you say too?
Well,
I mean, if you're not burning up more fuel, I mean, it's exponential.
Right.
But
you're not just sitting there with a motor trying to warm up.
Yeah. And Ben is actually here, the Ben who asked about missing, and he says, thank you for answering my question. Try to let you know what I end up finding out.
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a customer of mine I talked to him on the phone quite a bit about his miss problem. And ultimately, he called me today, actually, and said, you know what? I just said, screw it, bought a new distributor, threw that in, solved my problem. Even though he couldn't find anything wrong with the MSD distributor. Well, that being said, it could have been, something as simple as the damn mag pickup going bad.
Yeah.
So
or one of the
that's what I'm saying. It could be anything, man. It's just one of the hardest things to trace out. I mean, there's a lot of common things to look at, which it sounds like you covered most of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I see JD's got a question here. He says, what's a good radiator for a 604? Been having a heating problem, took the radiator out and gave it a good cleaning and noticed the top spring and the top hose, the spring was jammed inside the top radiator outlet. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that before.
Yeah, I mean, the top outlet, you shouldn't have a spring in it. So that shouldn't be there because that's pressure. I mean, there's plenty of pressure there to where you don't need a spring. But yeah, I mean, radiator wise, one that works. I'm not trying to sound like a dick or anything, but I mean, the ones in our car is that AFCO. Yeah. In Alex's car, I think AFCO radiator, double pass.
I mean, that's the one thing you would always say is a double pass radiator in any of these.
Yeah, correct.
And the one that I carry is the AFCO, and it's a double pass. Obviously, it's the lightweight version.
Yep.
And then whether you have a dirt late model or a modified, I've got the 2 different styles. So it's the 80184 or the 80185 are the 2 radiators.
I mean, one thing to do is make sure whatever radiator you're buying is rated for whatever cap you want to run. So I've seen guys where they'll make a mistake of buying a radiator that's not rated for let's say a 30-pound cap. And then all it does is just explode the tubes in the radiator, and then thing never cools.
So funny, actually. Somebody asked me the other day if those radiators were rated for that, and I was like, "Well, I only sell these radiators, and I only sell these radiator caps." So I think somebody would have stopped me by now.
You need to pay attention to what the radiator is actually rated to run pressure wise.
Yeah, that we do that. All right. And Rock says, tell us more about the thermostat housing. Oh, too bad that I brought that one other back to the office. Yeah, because it was sitting right here.
Yep.
And it's a thermostat housing that you've got the housing, normally we'd put a thermospacer. It's got that attachment there. It'll work for a 602 or a 604. And then the water goes to the thermostat. And from there, it's from or from the water pump. I guess I'm probably going backwards here, but you've got everything is all connected right there.
Well, yeah, it runs a bypass system, so it bypasses to the top of the pump. So basically, the problem you run in, if you just throw you can throw a regular thermostat in one, and it's gonna, kind of do the same thing. But the problem with that is when that thermostat's closed, the water pump itself is cavitating.
Mm-hmm.
So with this system, it bypasses to where the water pump will never cavitate.
That's good to know. And he's asking also if they're AN fittings on it or they push on hoses. They're all AN.
All AN.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I actually get those special, like the hoses that I buy with it are crimped and ready to go. And then everything is AN fittings on it. Yeah. And we do sell it. We've got a version for 602s, a version for 604s, because that's going to be the housing portion of it. And then we've got it set up for either a -16 or a -20. So whichever you're running with your radiator, I can do either one.
Yeah. I mean, this time of year when it's so hot, I mean, you're basically using it to warm the motor up in the pits.
Yeah.
To where, you go on the track, 180, 192, whatever the thermostat is that's in it. And that's great and fine. I mean, you're saving fuel there, but like come wintertime or, fall, early spring when it's cold
and hard
you're
to
running
warm
in 40-degree weather, really hard to warm up. That helps it out a bunch. It also helps it out like when you're under caution because the thing is not going to drop below what that thermostat's rated at. So,
yeah. And Chris says, I run a Southern Sport mod with a 602, only can run 1-inch speedway spacer. Is there any gain in it versus no spacer? And is it better to have an air cleaner out of the hood?
So yes, I would run the 1-inch spacer. Unfortunately, I think that's just a 1-inch open spacer.
It's like a 1-inch phenolic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would certainly run that. So that's gonna help you. As far as like getting the air cleaner out of the hood, absolutely. I would have it out of the hood. Obviously, not where you're getting direct ram air through the air filter because that's going to mess shit up. But I would have a scoop on there, obviously protecting it from direct ram air. But yeah, I mean, the primary thing you want to do is make sure that the air inlet, meaning your air cleaner, is sealed off from any underhood temperature.
If you can, if you're allowed to. Some of the 602 series in the Midwest, you can't run a cold air box of any, of any kind.
Right. Well, I would do everything I could to deflect any air from getting into the inlet of the engine. So if you can do that, or any underhood temperature is what I'm getting at.
All right.
Now, I mean, with a mod, you're not so much concerned about header heat because you're open on the sides. So that kind of helps itself out. But what you are concerned about is the radiator heat that's getting forced, straight back into the air cleaner.
Makes sense. And Jeremy has another comment. He says, I changed my plugs also. I'm running AR94s on E85 and they were super wet after my car had sat for 2 weeks. He says, I sent you some pictures on Facebook Messenger. If you have time, check them out, Steve.
I mean, that's normal.
Okay.
I mean, it's not nothing to be. I mean, it's just condensation, honestly.
Oh.
So it's not that's completely normal.
On the radiator, JD says, "Cool, thanks. I have AFCO now and was just going to get a new one. So good deal. We like the AFCO radiators." Chad's here. He says, "Been seeing 1.5 matched rockers advertised for sale for a 602. How much gain is it to have all 1.5s versus compared to some being 1.3 or 1.4? We were actually having this. Sorry for the way I mentioned that question. We were actually talking about this before we started the show, and you've come at a perfect time. We want to address this issue.
So, I had a person contact me today via Facebook and ask me basically the same question because apparently this company's claiming now. It could have been a typo on his part. I'm hoping it's a typo on his part. But according to him, the company is claiming a 15% power increase. All right, that's 52 horsepower on a 350 horsepower motor. That's impossible. All right, so that being said, if they're claiming a 1.5% power increase, that is 5.25 horsepower. It's 5.25 horsepower on a 350 horsepower motor. That is also impossible. Number one, if you've got a 1.5 rocker, but the push rod's deflecting, I don't know, let's say the push rod's going to be deflecting 10 thousandths. what's the difference between a 1.5 versus a 1.48? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've never seen anything as a 1.3. As far as like anything that comes from GM, that is a load of shit. So in my opinion, these people are outright ripping people off. And I would.
They're apparently being sold for $275 a set.
Right.
Since I don't know how much a set of rockers would be by itself, I don't know.
Honestly, I haven't ever priced rockers from GM for 602s because it's not normally something that just goes bad randomly.
Yeah.
So basically what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get you out of the shop and we're going to have to like do the same thing I had to do with these assholes with their fucking valve spring bullshit. And I'm going to have to like set it up to where you can video me, rate rocker arms on an actual engine.
Okay.
And show everyone the difference.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to do this.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately I'm getting, I ain't by no way, saying anything bad about the question.
No, I'm glad we're getting this question and we can address it. Yeah.
But unfortunately I'm going to have to like address this directly because this is the biggest pile of shit that I've ever seen in my entire life. So what I'm going to do, my plan is, of course I need a 602 in there to do it with.
Yeah.
Which I've got some coming up.
Okay.
But what I want to do is get some rockers, rate them.
Yeah.
Okay. Live on your, or not live, but
Yeah. We'll totally
do
record it. Yeah.
We'll record it.
We'll probably speed it up.
And then we'll go to the chassis dyno and swap rockers around and see what kind of difference we get on the chassis dyno.
I think it's the best way to go. I mean, if you just back to back it, so whatever you start with is what it is. For the other rockers, put the new ones on and find out.
So what I can tell you for 1,000% fact is a 15% power increase is ludicrous. That is the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my heard in my entire life. If in fact it was a typo from the person that messaged me and it's 1.5%, that in itself is also ridiculous because you can literally take apart a 602 brand new out of the box. You can blueprint that thing. And I would be surprised most of the time if you're going to gain if you gain 10 horsepower, that'd be amazing.
No, I mean, we have seen some horsepower gains on some parts. So air cleaner bases, we've seen usually about 6.
You're going to see. Well, it depends on the carburetor. On what you're starting with. There's a lot of different variables.
Of course, but when we back-to-backed it, I mean, this was years ago, a dropped base versus the flat air filter base. That was about 6 horsepower.
On a billet center section carburetor.
Correct. Yeah. Other things are obviously the anti-reversion mufflers are another one. We've got some gain. Torque, right.
Which all this is well documented.
Exactly. Just like your back-to-back oil testing.
Right.
That's where we could. These are all like back-to-back tests and not where we're stacking. A lot of people say, well, yeah, if you can get 5 horsepower here and 10 here, then, we can have 500 horsepower crate engines. That's not what we're saying. It's just when you compare two performance products and you just back to back them, the results are what they are.
I'm going to have to make a video just to show everyone that, no, this is not true. No, you're not getting a 1.3 and a 1.5. So
good thought on that. And actually, he thought the same thing, but wanted your opinion.
I mean, let's think about this realistically. We're talking; these are stamped steel rocker arms.
Okay.
So that means they're stamped. So they're stamped out. Right.
Yeah, like a little mold, and they stamp. Yeah,
stamped out rockers.
I mean, I can see where you'd have some variations in that, but not a lot.
No, but like again, what I'm saying is like the difference between a true, let's say 1.5, versus, 1.45 or 1.48, as far as overall lift goes on a hydraulic lifter engine with a little wimpy 5/16 push rod that's going to flex like a son of a bitch. I mean, come on,
Now, have you ever run into that? I mean, with all of your experience with doing super motors and things like that, was that something that you would have done in one of your super late model motors or those high end like drag racing?
Well,
motors,
the high end stuff you're buying aftermarket, Jessels, T&Ds. You're dealing with somebody.
So they're going to have the tolerances are not like
correct. Yeah, the tolerances are amazing. So back then, like doing a lot of the super stuff that we did back in the day, we were going, we were running, I think 2.1, ratio rockers on SB2 stuff back in the day, but we're also using like 5/8 diameter push rods.
Oh.
So because of the flex,
you
want to eliminate the flex, then you get the actual lift, because if you got a little wimpy push rod, that bitch is doing this shit. Like all you gotta do is look at it on a Spintron.
Oh.
So
interesting.
Would you grab me a beer?
Yes, I will grab you a beer.
But at any rate, no, bunch of rip-off artists. And that particular place, like I said, already debunked years ago their stupid freaking valve spring bullshit where they sell valve springs for
a lot.
A stupid amount of money because they're 80-pound springs or whatever, It's a total crock of shit. This is a bunch of jacklegs who are not certified by anybody to even tear a motor apart, that are just buying engines and then stamping a sticker on them and turning around and selling them as,
their work,
whatever business name approved, which I would love to name it.
No, and we're not.
But I'm not going to name it because I'm not going to give them any press.
Yeah. Okay. So I've got a totally different question. Actually, this was a racer who called me this afternoon, and he has, it looks like, an oil leak at the bottom of his timing cover. And he's not sure. I mean, is it possibly cracked? He can't see any visible cracks.
604.
So 604. And it's really their third night on it after, I think, having it rebuilt. Is this something you've seen? And I think they're an asphalt series, if I'm not mistaken.
I got you. I mean, unfortunately, like with if it's at the very bottom of the cover, it just could be a matter of, not enough silicone applied to seal that area. But I mean, between the pan and the cover. But it also could be a crack, yes. I mean, with the plastic timing covers, that is the drawback to them. They will crack.
So you've seen that a bit here and there?
Yeah.
Okay. So that would be
more common on dirt than asphalt.
Yeah.
Dirt, you're getting hit with rocks and everything else.
Oh, and that's where that could be coming from. That makes sense. So hopefully he's listening and could hear the answer to that question. But it sounds like it was happening with more than one guy kind of in their area. Like you, I spend a lot of time on the phone. So yeah.
I mean, GM changes how they silicone stuff all the time. So, I mean, it could be just a simple matter of that.
Wow. And Craig mentions that, they're noted for that 80-pound valve spring crap.
Oh, yeah,
so
exactly.
This is the same
source. It's nothing but a rip-off factory and a bunch of copycats because
that's a whole other thing.
We can get into that whole thing too. But
but we're not going to do that on the show.
Ripped off. They rip off people's shit, basically. Is what they do.
We're not. Yeah. Yeah, that's no. Now, how about you? Have there been any other questions that you've gotten in this last week?
No, honestly, I mean that I did want to address that on the show.
Yeah, you did.
I'm actually glad you brought it up because I'm like, I really need to talk about this.
Yes.
And we are going to come out with something. It needs to be when I know that I have a customer's car there with a 602 that we can actually do this on.
Yeah, and they're going to be on the dyno,
and they're going to be on the dyno, and then we can do all the work on this. So it may be several months before we actually can coordinate this. But I think I do want to at least record a part where we can show rating rocker arms on the engine.
Okay, that'd be good. Yeah, I'd like to see that. It's just more good, valuable information.
Right.
I like that a lot. Now, I've been talking to some racers, and some people have mentioned like, hey, I'd like to get an engine done with Hendren, and I know they're really, really backed up.
We've been backed up, unfortunately.
Now, are things, is the sky clearing at all, or what's your kind of your lead time looking at right now?
We're on average probably 4 weeks behind.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay. I mean, that's not as terrible as it was. You were like 9 weeks behind.
Oh, it was worse than that. I mean, unfortunately, no, there's certain things that are out of control. hell, I mean, when you lose power because of a thunderstorm and you can't work half a day, that completely fucks the entire week, unfortunately. But stuff like that, because everything we do requires power to run the machinery.
Oh, so, yeah, absolutely. Yes.
So but no, probably on average about 4 weeks behind. Now what everybody needs to understand is, number one, we actually do the work we say we're going to do.
Yeah.
So that means we actually have to work on things, not just polish them up and throw them back together.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, it's me, my brother, and my son doing the work, because that's the only three people we're the only three people that trust each other enough to do this, to make sure that when your shit goes out and wins a race and you get protested, you're legal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we got 3 employees.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I put every motor together that comes through the shop.
Mm-hmm.
That's why my brother does most of the machine work now.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm the asshole on the phone that gets to answer the phone every day, because I'm either putting the motor together or answering the damn phone.
Yeah. Understandable. And because every aspect of what you do could be the difference between you having a business or not. I mean, it just takes one tiny little screw up.
Absolutely.
One tiny little not reading a tape measure right. That could be a
we're not using tape measures.
I know, but you just for the broader scale of things. I use tape measures every day, and I have them everywhere throughout my shop. He makes fun of me. He's like, I don't know why you do that.
I've seen some work though where I think people do use tape measures, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. For me, I'm measuring boxes is pretty much, but I don't know. I'm measuring stuff all the time. My 3 main tools I need are tape measure, a knife, like a box cutter, and a calculator. Like those are the tools I have to use on a daily basis.
Just keep that in mind. That's one thing that aggravates the piss out of me is, no, we actually do the work.
Mm-hmm.
So there's people out there that don't.
Yeah, that happens. All right. So Chuck's here. He says, hey, Kate, Steve, and Kate, piss on Democrats. And cheers.
Absolutely.
So cheers, Chuck, and cheers to everyone that's joining us tonight. And Tommy is here. He says, on the putting 7 quarts of oil in a 604, that is counting the filter also?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you want to get right down to the bare bones, 6 3/4 quarts is ultimately the ideal amount. But I mean, 7's not going to hurt anything.
Yeah.
Which is why we say 7.
Mm-hmm.
Because trying to get somebody to put 6 3/4 of a quart is way more difficult to explain than just, hey, dude, throw 7 in there. You're good.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to sell oil change kits with 6 3/4.
No, I know you're
of quarts of oil. So
it makes no sense.
And we all know it's a big question, because you'll see it right on the oil pan that it says this uses 8 quarts. And do you want to explain why we don't use 8 quarts?
Yeah, because 8 quarts gets the oil into the crank.
Mm-hmm.
So it costs you power, heats up the oil. So no reason to run that much.
It's good. Yeah. I'm not gonna. I don't know. Yeah. Chuck says, since y'all are a couple, we need to see y'all hug and kiss.
No.
This is not that kind of show. Catch us on our OnlyFans. We don't have an OnlyFans. I'm kidding. Yeah.
Goddamn, I need to make one.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. There's that. We were chatting about that over the.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Too big of an inhale on the vape thing.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to quit smoking, so that's making one step at a time there.
Yep.
Yeah. Now that I've announced that to the world, whether you wanted to or not.
Yeah, well, there's that.
Yeah. Well, called you out. And Chuck says, just kidding. So we're good. That's good. That'll work. Yeah. I know. I think that's most of the questions that I've received in the last few days anyway. So that's been, it's been good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that's really been going on. It really hasn't rained. So we're in good shape there. I mean, racing, not as, if anybody has any great races or specials coming up or something, we'd love to announce them on the show. Happy to do that. And just kind of spread the word about what we're doing.
I will say, this is totally off topic. This is not racing related at all.
Okay.
So, I'm like a big gun guy, 2A guy. I like building guns, doing tinkering, doing all that shit.
Yeah.
So, if anybody's interested in building AR-15s with lower receivers that are 80%, I would contact a place or go online and look at a place called 80% Lowers. They make a jig system that is beyond a doubt the best thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Oh, nice little product placement.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, if you're into freedom and you want to own a gun that might not be serialized and you can build yourself, then I would certainly go there.
Great. Wow. Yeah, we went. Yeah, now we are talking about ghost guns.
It's just
I know. I'm just silly.
There's no such thing.
Right.
Because if you're your own manufacturer, it's not that.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's great to know. I mean, that's some good information to know. That's not even like an affiliate link or a plug.
No, I'm not making any money off
something that you just like
God, no.
in your world.
No, it's amazing. I mean, we got everything up and rolling here after work today, and gosh, I think my brother cranked out 2 in about less than an hour.
Oh wow, cool. All right, so we got some more here. Comments. James says, "Is that the same on a 602 with the oil?" So the 7
it is, yes, 7 quarts, correct.
Yeah. And Rock said, "Is that thermostat housing on your website?" Yes, it certainly is. So CrateInsider.com, and probably the easiest way to find it is to go to Shop by Brand and click on Arts Radiator. So these are made by Arts Radiator, and then you'll see all of the different configurations and see how many of them I have in stock.
It is top quality stuff. I'm telling you.
Yep.
I mean, I don't get too excited about too many things.
No, you do not. No.
But this is one thing that I am 1,000% in support of.
You were prematurely promoting this months before I could get it.
I was.
Yes.
I was, yeah. But I mean,
because you tried it out, and I was like, I didn't get it yet. I tried.
Yeah, we tried it on our own car, and I mean, my dad was really good friends with Art. They talked all the time and all that stuff, and then of course me and Art, we've known each other forever. I mean, we've never actually met face to face.
That is shocking.
Which I think would be fun as shit to like actually hang out with Art.
Maybe we can get him to come down for the show or something.
Exactly. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But no, we're phone buddies.
Love it. All right, Alan is here. He says, "Hello guys, glad to hear your thoughts on rocker arms. Can't wait to see your video. Just a little different question. I hear you talk about 1 cap of the Dawn dish soap in the Radiator. What would water look like? Is there any suds, or is the water clear?"
No, you'll end up having a little bit of suds, just due to the fact that it's actually soap.
Right.
But like when the thing's under pressure, no, there's not going to be. You're not going to see suds.
That is such a great question, because I mean, like when we talk about how when an engine overheats and then you end up with the steam, we talk about having a water pressure gauge versus a water temperature gauge, because like you could lose all the water and then it's the steam that really is the problem with the engine. Yeah. So it's just really interesting, because the suds could also kind of act like steam.
Well, they're not. They're not
going
to under pressure. So.
Right, I understand. I mean, that's why it's a great question, because how many gallons of water usually go into a radiator?
Oh, it's like 3 gallons roughly. I mean, the system 3.5, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking about how much a cap full of Dawn dish soap. You put it in a sink and it's plenty of suds. But if I was adding 3 to 4 gallons or whatever, then it would not make.
Yeah, I mean, ideally. Unfortunately, like if you pour the Dawn in before you pour the water in, shit's gonna be sudding up like crazy. So normally what you'll do is fill the system and then pour your little cap full of Dawn in there.
Okay.
After the fact, and then you'll never see the suds, and it's not even it won't even cross your mind at that point.
Great, very great tip right there. Yeah. All right, Mary Lou is here saying, "Are spin fuel regulators still a thing? If yes, where do you get rebuild kits since CV products got sold?"
Oh, man.
So the spin, I mean, that was Exeldyne. I thought CV retained Exeldyne, but then sold off everything else to Motor State. I don't know. I've been kind of out of the loop on that.
I'm going to be honest. I stopped dealing with CV years ago just due to once they got sold.
Yeah.
And what's his name? Screwed out of his own business.
Yeah. That would be Clyde. And then
Clyde,
any of the reps that we dealt with, they were basically fired.
They were fired instantly, kind of thing.
But as far as the product itself, you never had a problem with that.
No. I mean, it was always a good product, but they also, as soon as that happened, like their prices went up like stupid priced, and it was just not something that was affordable to the average guy. So I have not kept up with anything CV products was.
I haven't either, but I'm just going to look up Exeldyne, because I think that's who was making those spin pumps.
Very well could be.
And it looks like they're just doing, looks like just valve train components. I don't know if they even do.
Well, Excelodyne has always been valve train.
Because I just looked up Excelodyne.
So I don't know what other
name. Okay. I was just thinking that was, I don't know. I thought it was kind of under the same umbrella, but I guess I'm totally wrong there.
I don't know. I honestly have not paid attention to them in years.
All right.
Unfortunately, I mean, that used to be a freaking great company. I mean, God, I spent so much money with CV products over the years. It's ridiculous. Especially back when we were doing super stuff, and limiteds and stuff.
All right. Here's another comment. So Shane's here. He says, "Now, hey, I bought a set of those matching rocker arms and picked up 2 seconds qualifying this weekend." Just kidding. 2 seconds. 2 seconds. Dang. Wow, we're missing the boat here, Steve.
Yeah, that's the difference between winning and losing. 2 seconds, though, that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, wow. Jeremy says, on E85, where do you like your float set, and should we run the bypass hose from the vent tubes?
Yes, you should run the hose back and forth between the 2 vent tubes, get it as high as you can get it within your air cleaner assembly, and then obviously, make sure you got a hole cut in the top for venting.
Yes.
But, generally, you want the floats run about as high as you can possibly get them without it flooding over, sitting there statically.
Mm-hmm. Now, I had a question today, another question. I didn't write it down, but he mentioned E85. So there were a couple of E85 questions that came up today.
Right.
One of them, the racer was saying that he was running out of X85 and ended up picking up C85. And did I know the difference?
Yeah, C85 is more oxygenated than X85.
Oh, and then it smelled really bad.
C85 is technically illegal.
That's what I kind of thought.
Series that we race with. So.
Well, and then he was asking me, this is totally like a third question, about what was the purpose of those fuel scents? I've never sold them, but I remember.
Oh, the fuel scents?
Yeah. What's the purpose of those? Tell us a little bit about those, or tell me about them. I mean, everybody else probably knows.
Well, I mean, I think it all started back in like drag race and stuff, where guys are like trying to mask. I mean, number one, like you're running methanol, or you're running nitromethane, shit like that, and that shit just freaking stinks. So that would be one of the cases where you might use a fuel scent in there where it smells like grapes rather than dog shit,
Because he was wondering if you could add that to like the C85 or like the cherry flavored or something.
You could, yes. As a matter of fact, back when I was racing a bunch and we were winning a bunch, we were messing around with fuels that was not like public knowledge. So me and my brother were like creating a bunch of weird shit, and we were running fuel scent to mask the toxic crap that we were basically running in the fuel.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it reminds me, I remember my dad putting in food coloring and like spearmint extract is what it was. Because I don't think fuel scents were even, I don't know if they were a thing in the 80s.
Yeah. So back in the day before CHP plus.
Oh yeah.
That's what me and my brother were doing. So we were taking CHP, adding M5 methanol to it.
Yeah.
And then of course now we're talking like this is hours of dyno time and actually blowing up a couple motors. but we were adding M5 methanol, which is another product of EP's, but it's got like nitroparaffins in it. It's got like it's all this shit, and we were mixing that in with our CHP.
Yeah,
and which was just the power gains were exponential.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's
so you would mask that so people wouldn't be able to tell.
We'd mask it with a fuel scent.
Yeah,
because otherwise it just burn your freaking eyes out.
Oh. Wow. Another question he had, apparently, like just they're newer to racing and the kind of getting a collaboration of different voices and trying to figure out what the best thing is, which is what you need to do.
Oh,
but I think this guy's also getting some bad information, and because he's also being told to just go and get a 55-gallon drum and just fill it up with some E85, and then there's some like something you can buy at Walmart. Maybe it's a Lucas something, and that would make it good. I don't know.
Just so everybody knows, by the way, I won't cheat up an engine by any means, because that's the basis of the sport. That's how we. Yes. That's why we've still have dirt late models, honestly. So I'll never cheat up an engine. but I will cheat the fuck out of some fuel, maybe some tires. You just never know. But
I call it gray area. And I also say if you don't tech it, it's not a rule, but I'm anti-cheating. I mean, like if you're legit trying to cheat, like there's that. I think that's terrible, but
I'm pro ingenuity.
I agree. I am too. Being creative and gray area, all about some gray area. But what would you say about getting like E85 at the gas station?
I'm not a big fan of that, just because there's going to be a certain amount of water content, which is going to be way higher than what you're going to get out of a sealed drum. Just because it's in the ground. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast. I don't care whether you're buying 87 octane, 93, or freaking E85 out of the ground. You're going to have water content in it, and that's never really a good thing.
All right. And then one last question from that particular conversation is, if you know somebody that has a drum of CHP that's been sitting for more than a year, would it be perfectly fine to run that's completely sealed, never been opened? Is there...
If it's been sealed and it's been off the ground on a pallet, then it would probably be okay. I mean, it's technically rated for 6 months.
Oh, okay.
Like lifespan.
Okay.
Sealed.
Right.
On a pallet.
Okay.
It would probably be okay. Like legitimately, I mean, it has to be off the ground, because if it's sitting on concrete, then it absorbs moisture through the concrete.
Oh, wow.
Into the fuel. So
that's incredible. Yes. Wow.
So that's one of the big things. You have to have it on a pallet up off the ground.
Okay. Or elevated. Yeah.
Correct.
Gotcha. Like my little rolly carts for fuel drums.
Yeah, I mean that. Yeah, correct. I mean that's
it's cool. At Uline, you can get the 55-gallon drums. It's round and it has wheels on it. Because in my life, if everything could be on wheels, like nothing would make me happier.
Right. Correct.
Absolutely. Okay. And Gregory says, you talk yes or no for an alternator, but what amp of alternator do you recommend?
So the alternator stuff. God, what is that thing we got in Alex's car? It's a Jones setup.
Is it? I wonder if it's the one-wire Denso.
It is the one-wire Denso is what we got on his car.
Okay, I don't think I even have alternators on the website.
Yeah,
anymore,
we're running that on the back of the transfer. I can't remember what amp it is. I know it's a 16 volt alternator, but I cannot tell you what amp it is. Just off the top of my head, I can't remember.
Yeah, because
I don't know if you have it on there.
I don't think I do anymore. I was just going to take
Jones right there.
Yeah, I don't think I have I don't think I do, but I may have it on one of these other systems.
It's going to be the same thing. Basically, you run off the front.
It's a one-wire 45 idle 70 max amp alternator.
Yeah, 70 amp. All right. I was thinking 60. But
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. I love it when we can look on the website and it's there.
Right.
Love that.
It always helps.
It does.
So so 60 amp. Now, like his is 16 volt.
Well, this one is a 70 max amp anyway.
No, amp, but voltage wise, I can't remember what it charges battery wise. As far as.
Yeah. You guys have I think you guys have a 16 volt system.
Yeah, it's 16 volt.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And Tommy asks about the Dawn. Is the Dawn a water pump lubricant?
It is a water wetter. Mm-hmm. So rather than buying high dollar water wetter, the Dawn replaces that. And the reason I learned this, again, back to my dad being friends with Howard Stewart, the inventor of Stewart water pumps.
Yep.
Now he's building go-kart motors, by the way.
But, oh, wow.
Yeah. But him and Howard were really good friends. And Howard's like, yeah, I mean, Dawn liquid dish soap. Go to dollar store, get it for 99 cents. And he says, does the same thing as all this high price damn water wetter. It's a water wetter is what it is.
And Gregory had a follow-up on the alternator. It's 4602 Crate. So have you changed your stance on alternators for like 602s and
no, I mean, the reason I got an alternator on Alex's car is because he swaps back and forth between the 604 and the 525.
Right.
So I've got no problem running an alternator. No, I mean, it's a good way to go as far as, you don't have to charge a shit all the time. Is it necessary on a 16 volt system? I don't believe so, because you're not losing enough amperage to affect the performance of the engine. Is it necessary on a 525 like what we swapped? Absolutely.
Yeah, you have.
I mean, we're talking something that runs coil packs and everything else, so it's 100% necessary. But no, I mean 602. Run an alternator. Don't run an alternator if you have a 16-volt system. 12-volt system, I would probably run an alternator.
Okay.
So
yeah, I know a lot of the 602 rules packages require a 12-volt system instead of a 16. What?
It's like tripping on my back.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
there's
like water at the at our water at our there's air conditioning thing. That's interesting. I didn't even actually know there was a vent there. So okay, I'll have to fix that. All right. We got another follow-up question here from Mary Lou. Talking about the fuel regulator. So since the spin isn't necessarily available, what fuel regulator do you recommend?
Either the KSE or the Willys. Normally.
Yep. And I carry the KSEs on the shelf. Yep. I've got a whole little.
Now the KSEs, what we'll do on those, like with the way we run our stuff, is there's a bypass jet in there that gives you like a really, essentially gives you a low fuel pressure. If you've got a high pressure pump, which normally if you're running a bypass regulator, I assume we're talking about bypass regulators.
What says fuel regulator? I don't know what else that fuel regulator would be.
Well, I mean, there's deadheads and there's
that's true,
and there's bypass.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about bypass.
Right.
I mean,
probably because those used to be the fuel regulators I would buy from CD Products.
Right. So at any rate, so if we're talking bypass, then what we'll actually do with depending on the fuel that you're using and everything else, and the pressure pump that you've got, we'll actually there's a jet inside that KSE regulator, and we'll actually plug that.
Oh, okay.
So we'll remove the jet, plug that hole, and then it's basically true bypass with, you can set your fuel pressure at an idle at 7.5 pounds, 8 pounds, 9 pounds, whatever you're running for fuel, versus having, 2.5, 3 pounds at an idle. And then it picks up, as it just simplifies things.
Okay.
So we'll actually plug that. Other than that, like the Willie has a vacuum port on his normally. And that vacuum will be for like low pressure and idle kind of thing.
Okay. Cool. So
which I don't use that.
Right.
So, on our stuff.
All right.
Now, as far as a deadhead regulator, one that works. So
yeah. All right. And Jeremy talking about the fuel scent, he's running cotton candy. I don't know. He's going so fast. I mean, he's 2 seconds faster than he was last time. Right. So I don't know. That'd be
I had God, what was it? We had some grape scent. I think it was grape that we were using back in the day.
Grape used to be really popular.
We were like rolling to freaking Lawndale. God, this would have been, I don't know, 2009, 2010. We're like rolling to Lawndale. I go to open my cabinet, my trailer, and the freaking fuel scent falls out and spills over the entire trailer. And it's like 100 and something degrees out. I've never been so sick in my life. Well, I mean, not literally physically ill, but like the entire fucking trailer smelled like this grape shit.
But not in the good kind.
Yeah. It was highly concentrated grape. And like, I mean, either everybody thought we were running Lambert Blue on the tires that night.
Oh my God, it was that bad? Wow.
You couldn't walk by the trailer without smelling grape, which is what Lambert Blue used to smell like, tire prep.
Well, I mean, I remember when we were at...
but no, we're cheating up fuel.
I remember being at Dirt
Of course,
Truck
we probably did have Lambert Blue on it that night, too.
Well, I'd never heard of Lambert Blue or been around that, and you and I were walking around the track, and you're like, well, they're using Lambert Blue.
Oh, yeah,
that's right. And we were like 30 feet away.
Yeah, it was a modified.
Yeah, 30 feet. I mean, I'm sure it was completely legal because...
Yeah, as soon as I caught a sniff of that, I'm like, Lambert Blue right there.
Like, well, now I know. I know all the way from here, and I don't have a great sense of smell, so it's got to tell you something. That's great. And Brian says, can you search it on what you were saying about the CHP? You're probably talking about being off the floor. I don't know. I'm not sure which part of... I probably don't have that stuff on my website about... Or if you're talking about the rolly carts. Actually, then Mike is following up saying, would love the formula for your CHP. methanol mixture.
It was
actually it's now CHP plus.
It's CHP plus is what it is now. But if you want the actual formula, the formula at the time was 4 gallons of CHP, 1 gallon of M5 methanol, and ultimately that makes CHP plus.
Okay.
So
yeah, but it's not illegal anywhere.
There's a reason that they made CHP plus.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah. But that is don't try this at home without being at a Chisa dyno.
No,
and
this
it's not legal in most of the series. I mean, when it came out, I mean, it wasn't. It's not that it wasn't illegal. It wasn't not legal.
When we were doing this stuff, when me and my brother were doing this stuff, I mean, this was basically mad scientist. Hey, let's see what we can do to get around the rules. When at the time there was no rule, there no methanol. So you couldn't run straight methanol. You couldn't run propylene oxide. You couldn't run this, and this. But at the time, there was like no labs involved in any of this shit. There was, I mean, we're like, hell, let's make some freaking power. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah.
I raced for years in California running methanol. I know what methanol does. So we start freaking experimenting around. I called a good friend of mine in the Midwest who owns a carburetor shop. And we got to talking about methanol. And he's like, oh, yeah, you can try this M5 shit. I'm like, all right. So that's what we did.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was fun. I mean, we're probably all going to die of cancer because like all the shit we've messed with fuel-wise it's unreal. But no, we had a good time doing that stuff and won a lot of races running that combination.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at the time, it wasn't illegal because there was no rule on it.
That's what I'm saying.
And nobody could test it and things.
It wasn't even a rule. So
no, it wasn't a rule.
It was just.
I keep saying we were cheating fuel up. Technically, yeah, we're cheating fuel up, but.
Yeah, sort of.
But I mean, the whole thing is no, you couldn't do this without at the time.
Some of it was just A, it's not going to be teched. B, there wasn't anything specific. So it's one of those gray areas.
Right.
Where you didn't tell me I couldn't do this it's kind of one of those, right?
Yeah.
So that's really where you were with that situation.
It's one of the reasons why a couple series came out with some fuel rules.
Yeah, they did.
Also.
Yes, you're that guy that caused rules to come into place. Yep. It's back to some sense here. Alan says mothballs were popular with us. Yeah, right. I've heard of that one.
I've heard of that one.
Yep. And Jeremy says the burnout blueberry smells best, but only in 110. X85 makes all of them smell funky.
Oh yeah.
Good to know. And speaking of 85, E85, James asks, what do y'all think about base? R85. So I don't know what R85 is. That okay?
Yeah. So I've tested VP, Renegade, Base, Sunoco. All 4 of those fuels run basically identical. So, I mean, we're talking within, I say basically identical. We're talking, there's a few horsepower, a few foot-pounds of torque difference between all of them, but we're not talking the difference between winning and losing a race.
It's not 15% horsepower?
No, it's not like rocker arms. No, we can't, it's not like rated rocker arms.
Oh, okay. So, anybody joining us late, we are joking. So just, just letting you know that. Yeah.
No, it's not like rated rocker arms. So no, it's not going to be the difference between winning and losing a race. So that tells me, number one, that all 4 of those fuel manufacturers are using pretty much top tier ethanol.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they're cutting it with whatever their race gas is 15% wise.
Yeah.
To make an E85. But no, I have not seen anything magical there between any of them. And the base runs just fine. Now, years ago, we messed around with ethanol, E85, and M5 methanol. Putting M5 methanol in E85, and
how many engines did you blow?
Probably a couple more.
Yeah, okay.
that's a whole nother realm of weirdness that we messed around with. But nowadays, because I mean, this stuff get lab tested. I mean, you're gonna get caught doing it. But back then,
there are rules against.
Yeah, again, there's rules against.
Yeah,
But back in the day, it was just fun shit. I mean, when there's no rules or very gray area rules,
correct,
then and we were fortunate enough to be able to do that because we got the dyno. So
yeah, and Tommy says back in the day we used duplicating fluid from high school. I don't know what duplicating fluid
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, not sure what that is. Yeah, interesting. I mean, there's just so much creativity in racing. I love that. I love that part of it.
Why we all go race. It's like fun to mess around with shit.
Oh, I want to do a little plug here for our July giveaway. We're really excited about it. We talk a little bit about valve springs and stuff around here, and you can enter our giveaway. We did it last month, June. I know Tori messaged you the name of the winner.
Yeah, she did.
Yes, Brian. Yes. Right. And so this month, this is what we're giving away. We've got a valve spring changer and a valve lash adjusting tool, a speed handle, some Crate Insider swag, and for our winner, their choice of 602 or 604 matched valve springs. So that way a person can get all set up for changing their valve springs.
The winner was Brian Salisbury.
Brian Salisbury, yep. So if you can enter that giveaway, just go to CrateInsider.com. At the top, there is a link at the top that says giveaway, or you can just type in CrateInsider.com /giveaway. And we will be doing that at the end of July.
Nice.
Yeah. And by the way,
which is coming up because it's like the 18th.
I can't believe it's the 18th. And by the way, it will put you on our email list. We do not spam anybody. Yeah. We send you an email like once a week. It's about all we do. Yeah. And if you're already on our email list, you'll get just the same amount of emails. So we'd love to invite you to be part of that. Good stuff.
Hey, free shit's free shit.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, it's good stuff. I'm saying shit, but I'm using it,
Right. I understand. And then Brian's got a question here. He says, on a 525, would you run CHP or CHP plus?
Number one, I would certainly just run CHP. The CHP plus, here's the problem, and I didn't address this earlier when I was basically talking about me and my brother inventing CHP plus. It eats the shit out of everything. Your fuel system maintenance goes up exponentially. And by maintenance, I mean it's going to eat the hoses, it's going to eat the O-rings in the sight glasses in your carburetor, it's going to eat anything in that system. That CHP plus it's not the exact thing that we were doing, but it's very similar and you'll have the same problem. So no, I would run CHP.
Good to know.
I mean, because to me, consistency is key. And CHP is a great fuel. I mean, it's the best race gas that I know of. As for our application, 525, 604, 602.
And it's been proven for years and years.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. One last question, because we're getting to be about the top of the hour here.
You got like a class to do or something.
Yeah, I do. And Jeremy says, Steve, do you like the pull style valve spring testing tool for a tech tool for 602 engines? I feel like there is too much variance in who pulls it.
Well, there is. And I've always said that because people ask me all the time, hey, what should my valve springs test at with, my on the car tester? I'm like, man, it's going to vary. I pull it. I'm going to pull it different than you. I mean, nobody's going to pull that thing the same way twice.
Now, let me add on to that really quick, if I could, because actually I just talked to a tech man this afternoon, and he's in a situation where it's basically track rules, doesn't have the support of like a national series or, regional series, nothing like that. Right. And they've got where they can't even like rebuild engines or anything. And he has a sense that there's some cheating going on. And we talked about the valve spring pressure tester. And I just said, my take on it would be, it has to be just one person. And I can't tell you, like, don't make a rule where I've seen these rules where if you test more than 82 pounds, for instance, that's going to be an illegal valve spring. I said, it's not accurate for that. No. But what you could find out is if you go to this guy's engine, he's in the 80s or 70s to 80s, somewhere around there, that's one thing. You go to the next guy and it's 300 pounds. I mean, I'm being exaggerating, but when it's something so grossly different, then at least it definitely raises the red flag that, okay, we need to get into this deeper. What would you say on that?
Well, here's what I can tell you in that scenario, as far as like the tech side of things. Let's just take like a 602.
Okay.
I've had this happen.
Yeah.
I had a customer, and God, where was he? Alabama, Mississippi, something like that. And he gets tossed out, wins a race, like big race. Gets tossed out by a local yokel tech man who didn't know his ass from a fucking hole in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets tossed out for valve springs.
Right.
And reason being is if you're running 3/4 of a turn preload, right? Mm-hmm. As far as valve, you call it lash, but it's, we're going preload. If you run 3/4 of a turn preload, you're going to show a higher rate on the spring than if you're running like 0, for instance.
Right. Like a 0 lash. Right. Okay.
So, I mean, that makes a massive difference as far as how shit's, and again, it comes into like people pulling, how you pull the tester, how you do.
Yeah, I agree. But I would say it just raises a red flag to say, you know what? This one's suspicious. Let's pull these valve springs and get them to a bench tester.
Well, that's the only, no, I mean, ultimately, that's the only way you can do it.
And that's what I told them.
Tech-wise, yeah.
Tech-wise,
it has to come off.
At least this could be a screening tool, is what this could be used for.
That's all it is.
Is a screening tool.
It's a screening tool, and the best thing for like the average racer, I would own one, certainly.
Yeah.
And we do. But that's for just testing week to week to make sure everything's up to snuff and nothing's like, don't have a broken spring that you can't see.
Yeah.
Or anything like
that they're
so
becoming
it's
super
a screening tool. It's not a tech
device. And that's how I've explained it is then, if there's something that's just grossly ridiculous, you're like, okay, let's go ahead and we're going to pull the valve springs off of this,
right.
Get it over to a bench tester, make sure it's set at the exact install height. And then you'll be able to tell if you want to have a valve spring rule, because whether you pull it or me pull it or anyone else, it's going to be within a couple of pounds of each other if we're on a bench tester.
Right.
On the car tester where we could be worlds apart.
Hey, just saying though, I'm going to let you pull it all day long.
Will you? Wow, I already touch everybody's packages before they go
out.
I forget who said that to us on this show, but that was hilarious. Because it's me and Tori.
Kate's grabbing people's packages.
I am every day. Every day. All right, we got just a couple more. We'll squeeze these in and then we're going to roll. But Scott's here from California. Thank you for being such an awesome viewer here. You're with us every week. He says, hi from hot/dry/sunny/foggy /on fire.
On fire, California.
Wow, are they on fire again?
It's that time of the year.
Man, wow.
Yep.
And Brian asks right here, he says, what does it cost to freshen a 525?
If we're going by the like GM specs, it's generally around $3,800 to go through one. If we're going by like the fuel rule specs, it's around $55.
Okay, because you're changing out some.
If we're changing, but normally like per GM spec, it's around $3,800.
Yep. And actually, Jeremy says, yeah, it was me. I thought it might be.
Right.
And did I already ask this? What maintenance do you do on CHP?
CHP is virtually no maintenance. Oh. I mean, really. I mean, it's a very well designed fuel. So, I mean, if you're racing week to week, there's virtually no maintenance on CHP.
Good to know. Well, I think that is about all we have for today. Do you have any last words before I close things up?
Nope.
All righty. Well, thank you all for being here today. Thank you so much for being part of the show. If you're over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. We really like that, or like our page on Facebook, and like follow us, subscribe to us, all the things, because it helps us reach more people. And of course, that's part of what we want to do here is try to make it a better world for racing. So thanks again. And we'll look forward to seeing y'all next week. Bye.